I enjoyed being a technician over the years.
So if you went back in time, did it again, you'd be a technician all over again. Would you? Hey guys, Jay here with Word Advice TV, and today I have a really special guest joining us. When I was a fresh tech, still a greenhorn, learning my ways around, Peter was the one that taught me a lot of the things I know. Whenever I would get stuck in a furnace or an air conditioner call, he is the man I would call, and he would come and get me unstuck. So needless to say, Peter has a ton of experience in the HVAC field fixing all kinds of things. So I was really hoping to pick his brain today and ask him some questions and hopefully get some really good advice and expert tips for new technicians or people just starting out in the trades. So Peter, a question to start this off.
Okay, here we go.
If you could go back in time and speak to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give him to get him further ahead in life than you ever did in your lifetime? Or even better yet, if you could rewind time and start over at 20 years old with your current brain, what would you do differently?
You know, I think I enjoyed being a tech. I like to work with my hands. I did own my own business for a while, and owning my own business, I was a better technician than a businessman. So I think to start off with, I probably should have started going to and done some business classes and then learn how to be a technician. But if I would have started off being a businessman, then I wouldn't be a good technician.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you know, so I guess just more business school, more entrepreneur type schooling and stuff like that before I got into being a technician, so that I could better myself as a businessman and a technician. Hard to do.
And I know did you sell your business or just close it down?
We sold it.
You sold it?
Yes.
And why did you sell it? Just because it became overwhelming?
I was in it with a couple brothers, and I think we all know that working with family can be difficult situations sometimes. We got along and everything. Towards the end, it got to be where we let a lot of guys go. So there was 3 of us owners that owned it, and then the guys that worked for us, we had to lay them off because everything slowed way down, and it got to be where I just needed to make a move. We started butting heads, and I just needed to make a move. So I went to be a technician someplace else and sold my portion of the business. It was a good move.
So you're saying if you could go back and do that again, you would, in the very beginning, start taking business classes, entrepreneurial classes, learning how the business operates alongside being a technician, or that first, absolutely, and then technician?
Hard to do, but business probably should have been first.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
You know, but there again, you know, if you do business classes right away when you're young, that's probably the direction you're going to go.
You're not going to be a technician anymore.
Right. You know, so it's I enjoyed being a technician. I liked going into people's houses. I liked visiting with people. I liked working with my hands.
And you mostly did all residential, right?
Yes, very little light commercial stuff. Another thing I would do would be to make sure to pay yourself or pay your savings. Put money into savings right away. Don't wait until you're 20 years into your career. Start putting a little bit of money away all the time. Takes a lot to retire. I've done well over the years, but yeah, I would say that, you know, if I were to tell myself 20 years ago or 30, 40 years ago, it would be to start paying myself early.
And you just retired a year ago, right, Peter?
Yeah.
A year ago.
Yeah, one year coming right up here now.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
By the way, do you wish you would have retired earlier?
No,
I think good the way it is.
Yep. I had always planned on retiring at retirement age, and the day after I met my retirement age, I was done.
You were done. Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy for you, Peter.
Yeah.
You deserve it, man. Out of all the people I know. And if I could get back to that savings thing, I've heard that a lot of times, pay yourself first if you own a business. Would you do that randomly, or would you actually make a system out of it where like 10%, you just get a payment, and whatever payments you get, 10% immediately goes into your savings? Is that what you mean by paying yourself first?
Yeah. Yes, pay yourself first.
That's like the number one bill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Even, I mean, you got to pay your electric, you got to pay your gas, but yeah, it's pretty important, because, you know, doing your own business and stuff, nobody's putting into a 401k for you. Mm-hmm. You know, you're doing your own savings and retirement stuff yourself. Mm-hmm. So yeah, start, you know, make it a goal to put, like you say, you know, if you start early, 10% is a good starting goal.
And just out of my own curiosity, Peter, you're saving 10% every single payment. Would you keep saving and saving and saving, or would you invest that into like stocks or something?
Oh, I've always been into stocks and CDs. I've got some annuities,
but not just sitting in your account. You do want to invest in.
You have to invest.
Sure.
And once you get a little bit of money saved up, you know, go to a money manager and have somebody manage your money for you. Mm-hmm. You know, once you reach $100,000 or something, you know, have somebody else take and invest that for you. Pay that 1 or 2% that it costs to have them work for you, and let them do their job for you. Mm-hmm. It has worked out well for me.
Mm-hmm. Do they have some kind of guarantee, Peter? I've never done that. No guarantees.
No guarantee.
So if they lose all your money, it's just gone?
That's the way the stock market.
Oh man.
Yeah, I've taken some hits.
Uh-huh.
I always tell my wife, if I would have put all my money in a jar and buried it in the backyard, would I be farther ahead? Don't know. God, you know, because you take some hits and then you get some big gains. Mm-hmm. You know, it fluctuates with the market. Mm-hmm. So, but I've done good with my investments.
So number 1 was to take business classes, and number 2, pay yourself first. Put money into the savings account. What else would you tell yourself?
If you're working for someone, as you're working for them, treat it as it's your own business, because you are, whether you own it or not, you are part of that business while you're working there. I think it's very important to know that whether you have ownership in handwriting or not, if you're working there, you have ownership in that business. And I would suggest to anybody that, you know, really take ownership in any job that you have. Mm-hmm. You know, and really give it all your best you can to help the company that you're working for, rather than to, you know, try to see how many days off you can take.
Yeah, see how much you can slack off.
Yeah, you know, that's not good for you, not good for the business owner.
I heard a good quote about that, Peter. If everybody in your workplace worked like you, would it be better or worse?
Yeah.
And if the answer is worse, then
you got trouble.
You got to do something. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, after I sold my business, I worked for the gas company, and the gas company is it's a big corporate type deal, and I went in there and I felt ownership there. You know, I felt that I wanted to run that like I ran my own business. We did good in our business, and I carried that with me after I sold my business, and I think that they appreciated that. Mm-hmm.
I think they did. I was there, so.
Yeah, right.
Peter, I was going to ask, you said you had your own business. When you were hiring a person, what quality, or even after you already hired them and they're working for you, what qualities are the most important for you? Like show up on time, work ethic, like what is the most important in an employee that you want to see?
Number 1, is probably, you know, showing up and wanting to do a full day's work, not showing up and wanting to hurry up and get to break time so you can sit at break time for 45 minutes to get back up and work for an hour and a half so you can take another break for an hour and a half.
So you're saying that work ethic would be more important to you than technical skill? Like if it was a really skilled person, yet his work ethic was like really slack, you would rather take a fresh guy and teach him?
Yeah, because the fresh guy will learn. If he's got good work ethics, he will learn and he will want to do better for you.
So you would rather take the new guy as long as he has a good work ethic instead of a skilled
and learning ability.
And learning ability.
It's pretty hard to get a trained technician, to do your business. If they've got good mechanical skills, that goes a long ways in fixing anything.
Talking about training, another question I wanted to ask about training. Do you think going to college for HVAC repair and service and install, is it worth going to college, or really on-the-job training and a couple of YouTube videos is plenty?
No, you have to go. One of the things that I would have done early on was take a lot more electrical courses.
Just learning how voltage works and
Ohm's
law and all that.
Wiring diagrams. A lot of, especially now with all of the printed circuit boards and everything. Trying to follow a wiring diagram. The flow chart on a wiring diagram is almost impossible to read anymore. Used to be where it was relays and transformers and stuff where you could pick out a component and you could replace it and away you go. Now it's one little diode goes bad on a circuit board and the whole machine shuts down. So it's a lot different today than it was when I was 20 years old.
Easier back then, right?
I think so. You could take a whole machine apart and look at the wiring and figure out what needs to go to that circuit to feed it. Where now you can't see that on a control board. It goes into that control board and it spins. You don't see what's going on. You might have a different opinion of that.
No, I actually agree.
A lot of
because when you can actually trace the wires even without a wiring diagram and figure out where the power is dropping off and try to fix it at that point, that's so much easier than a big circuit board,
right?
And you have no idea which little diode or whatnot is bad, causing this whole mess,
Right?
Yeah, I only agree.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of the guys that young guys, they get onto an old furnace and they're totally lost. Because they're so used to going out and just looking at a furnace and saying, it doesn't have any spark. The gas valve comes on, but it doesn't have any spark. Or ignition. Just replace the whole board. And well, that's your transformer, your relay, your this, your that, everything. Right down the line.
That's funny. I remember when I just started out working with you in the same company. That's exactly how it was. The old furnaces, they were the scariest.
Yeah.
I would much rather work in a brand new one than that thing. It's but no, eventually you taught me, and I actually like them now a lot. Probably because of people like you, who taught me how to actually work on them and stuff. So it's good. And while we're on this topic, one more thing I want to ask Peter. The HVAC career has many different branches and variations that you can go down, like commercial, residential, install, service, low voltage, high voltage. Which of those paths do you think is the best? What's a great choice? I know you didn't do commercial. Was there a reason for that?
No, that's just what our business did. I mean, we did some light commercial, but nothing, no big buildings or anything like that. Just because we didn't have the equipment to size it or anything like that. So I never got into any of the, sizing big duct work or even trying to put in 30-inch round duct work or, I mean, we just never did anything like that. So I don't know. I kind of like the residential myself, just because.
So no regrets?
No, not at all.
That you want residential?
Yeah, I think you could probably make more money in commercial because commercial you're up in a ball stadium. You're 100 feet above the floor installing ductwork. It's a lot more dangerous. You're all tied off and everything, but a lot more dangerous work, a lot heavier work.
Also a lot of rooftop work, right?
Yes.
So cold, hot.
Yep.
Yeah, that's always up there.
It's the only time you're going to be there.
Ladders.
Is when it's cold or hot.
Exactly. When it's the coldest, it's the hottest.
Yeah. So in residential, pretty much all the time it's going to be above 50 degrees in that house when you go in and fix an air conditioner, a furnace.
Yep.
We did plumbing and heating, so whatever it was that we had to go fix, it was going to be comfortable temperatures in there. So no, I don't have any regrets of residential at all.
Residential is just lighter on the body, right? Like, I mean, imagine a blower motor on a residential unit in the warmth.
Right.
Whereas a blower motor on a rooftop, like this giant thing, and you're freezing your butt off. Like,
trying to beat that shaft off of there because that bearing that was making noise for the last 8 months seized up on there. Now
No, that's actually a great point. I think that's why I chose residential as well. Because I did go to college for both residential, a year of residential, and one for commercial, and even though it pays more, man, it's just harder on the body and just harder overall.
Right. Yeah.
Not worth the money, in my opinion. Maybe somebody else has a different opinion. You agree? That's good. That also brings me to ask you another question. You say treat every workplace like your own. When I was growing up, my brother gave me a different set of tips. He said, stay at a workplace for 5 years maximum and then switch somewhere else. His main reason for that was in 5 years, you're probably going to cap off on the earnings. Plus, you're probably going to learn as much as you can learn in that place. When you switch to another job, you're going to learn even more, and most likely your pay is going to keep increasing. Do you think that's sound advice, or do you think instead of hopping around every 5 or 10 years, just find a good company and stay there long term and treat it as your own, all the way till you retire? I
only work for somebody. Well, I've done a lot of things, but I own my own business for 25 of my years in the business. And then it was just 10 years that I worked for somebody else, and that 10 years went by unbelievably fast. I mean, 10 years just flies by.
And you didn't even have the thoughts to jump ship?
Nope. When I sold my business, it was like, you know what? I can go and I can work for somebody for the last 10 years of my career. I can get, a little bit of retirement, built up in that 10 years. I actually worked there for 11 years, and my birthday came around and I retired. I was vested at 10 years. So I've got health credits that pay for my health care until the Uncle Sam wants to
change
kick
something
in.
Up, right?
Change something. That's right.
Before we move on to the next thing, just one more thing I want to ask. How did you get into HVAC? Was it just like since you were born, or maybe you should have been an accountant, Peter? Any regrets? Like a cubicle would have been better, or you're happy with how things went?
No regrets. No regrets. I wouldn't want to run the business. I wanted to.
Was this a family business just passed on to you?
It was my dad. My dad started the business. He and another guy started it, and so I was actually an auto mechanic when he asked me to come and work for him, because he knew that I'm looking for a technician. Well, what better technician can you get than an auto mechanic? I mean, it's the same type of work. you tear it apart, you figure out where the problem is, you put it back together, and you go on to your next job. So no, I don't have any regrets at all. I enjoyed being a technician over the years.
So if you went back in time, did it again, you'd be a technician all over again. Would you? Because you have this knowledge now and experience. Like, would you actually do it all over again? That'll tell the viewers if HVAC is really worth it.
Yep. You know, and 20 years ago, yes. It's a little harder working for people today. Going into somebody's house today is a whole lot different than going into somebody's house 20 years ago.
Why is that? Did people get meaner, or why is it harder?
More people in general, I think, expect more. Every house, not every house, a lot of houses are very pristine, you know, and I mean, you have to be very careful with everything you do, you know, not to have anything on the bottom of your shoe. Wear boot covers, and you know, where 30 years ago people didn't take their shoes off, and you know, if you pulled out their refrigerator because their refrigerator was broken and you had to pull it out to fix it, well, if you happened to scratch that floor because there was a piece of rice under the wheel and it stopped that wheel from turning and it scratched the floor, 30 years ago, you didn't have to buy that whole floor. They would color that floor in and call it good, call it a day. Now, if you scratch that floor, the first thing they do is, where's your insurance company's name? And, you know, who can I contact about replacing my floor that goes through my kitchen, dining room, into my living room that you'd never be able to match? And would I...
African cherry wood?
Yes. I mean, it's that type of thing, you know. You almost can't be careful enough on anything anymore. You know, you bring your plastic appliance slide sheets in and you put them on the floor and you think you've got everything all covered so you're not going to scratch the floor, and you pull your refrigerator out, you turn it, your sled moves, and that little piece of granule sand under there just puts a scratch in the floor. That's your fault.
And if you pull it out and it springs a leak, copper pipe, your fault, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You're the last one that touched it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it's really hard.
Same with an air conditioner, right?
Everything.
Like, you were the last one there, therefore it's your fault if something goes south after you left.
Yeah.
It's a good
point. You know, so would I mean, yes, I would. I enjoyed being a technician. I can't.
So what you're saying is, back then, if you were to go back in time, it would be worth it. But now you would consider it.
Gal, if I were 20 years old today, I wouldn't know any better. You know, so I would just...
You would just adapt.
I would just, yes. And that's what I did. That's what I did. But it's definitely because of that, you know, much harder. You always have to be thinking of that next move. Whatever you do, you know, cause and effect. What's going to happen when you do this? If you do this, what's going to happen because I did that? Like you say, pull it out. You never touch the water line. Push it back in. 3 days later, they call you, tell you that, you know, hey, that floor is buckling out in front of my refrigerator. That's your fault. You never touched it, but you had to replace that relay on the back of the compressor.
Yep.
It's your fault.
Yeah, you were there. All right, so all of that was about repair work. Do you have any advice or some tips or wisdom to share about just life advice in general? Like, what would you do differently in life? Like, if a new guy starting out now, you know, he's working, he's building a family, like, what's some good things to do early on, which you wish you would have done?
I did a lot of jobs over the years. I started out as an auto mechanic, and then painting, wallpapering, carpeting, linoleum. Then I went back to auto mechanic. Then I built houses with a guy, framed houses. Then I got into, you know, back into the automotive again. Did that for 10, 12 years, and before I got into the heating and air conditioning. And with doing the home remodeling. I did about 10 or 15 home remodels.
By home remodel, do you mean you bought a house, remodeled it, and sold it? Okay.
Yeah.
Was that worth it? Flipping houses?
Yeah.
Definitely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That was good. Couple of the things that I wish I would have done would have been, you know, I've had a lot of really good opportunities that I passed up just because you go to the city and they tell you, well, it's going to be very difficult to get that done, to go through the process, you know, and they start laying out all this stuff that you have to do. You have to do this and you have to do that. If you're buying land and you want to develop it, you have to do land exchanges to take care of different wetlands and stuff like that. And there was a few different properties that I looked at that I wish I would have bought, you know, because I could have got them for a really good deal, and I didn't do that. I passed up on some good investment opportunities.
So, to summarize, you're saying even though there's restrictions and stuff, if you're getting a good deal for the land, just go for it?
It's a lot of times it's going to be
still worth
well worth it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You know, hesitate, check your options, but if you're able to, go for it. Put the work in and do it. Yeah.
So Peter, I have another interesting question for you. Out of all the furnaces, let's say in the United States, those that are over 5 years old, how many of them do you think have a cracked heat exchanger, and how dangerous is that really?
Oh, there's a lot of cracked heat exchangers out there.
If we had to put it percentage-wise, just a guess. What do you think?
Hey, you know, I'm gonna
You've looked
say
at a
that.
lot of heat exchangers, right? So you've seen.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You know what? Probably not 10%.
Not 10%?
I don't think so.
Not even 10%?
I don't think it's probably 10%, you know, about 10%.
Out of all the furnaces, well, let's say it's 10 years or older. Would that increase it?
Yeah.
So at 5 years old, probably 10%. How about 10 years old?
Probably 50.
50?
Yeah. It's,
that much?
Well, yeah, because that metal in the heat exchangers moves.
Every time it heats up?
Yeah.
Expands, contracts?
They got them little rivets in there that holds the two pieces of metal together. One of them rivets fall off, and that's a cracked heat exchanger. Most of them are negative pressure heat exchangers.
So imagine there's so many furnaces out there that are over 10 years old, and if 50% of them have a cracked heat exchanger, that makes me wonder, how dangerous is it really? I mean, I know there's some extreme cases where people die, but overall.
You know, I'll bet on all the furnaces that I've ever seen, I'll bet I haven't seen 30 furnaces that were really, honestly dangerous. Where you go into the house, they say you can't smell carbon monoxide. But once you get carbon monoxide at 10%, I mean that's a lot. If you walk in from outside, walk in from the fresh air to inside, average homeowner's not going to be able to smell it. But a trained technician that has smelled carbon monoxide many times can walk into a house and tell it's in the air by how the air is not fresh. It's moisture filled. It's
the aldehydes,
burning,
right?
Yep. It's so burning.
It's not even the carbon monoxide you're smelling. It's just that mixture of gas.
Yep.
All the other components with it.
Along with all the cooking that's done in the house and the laundry and the showers and all of that together leaves an odor. I mean, you walk into a house that's full of carbon monoxide and everybody says you can't smell it, but yes, you can.
Interesting. I've only had a few times, Peter, so I know you have a lot more experience than me.
Yeah.
You were saying?
I walked into a house one time and it was at like 500 parts per million. People weren't sick,
They weren't sick, even though it was 500.
Yeah. Luckily, they were an active family.
Wow.
And you know, they came home.
I'm gonna have to look that up, because if they were living in 500 parts per million, I'm gonna see that chart that says when people die and how long. that seems really. Okay, I'm really gonna have to look into that.
But you know what? When they're coming and going, you know,
Oh, you're saying they're letting fresh air in every time.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, they go out and they refresh it. Yeah, you're right. The numbers don't sound right, but
so they'll be probably the carbon monoxide is probably concentrated in some area, right?
Yes, it can.
Or do the vents just kind of blow it all over?
It pretty much mixes.
It does mix. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can get it stronger in a utility room. You know, because you can get a negative pressure in the house, and you know, the water heater can backdraft, and you could get a lot of carbon monoxide in the utility room. But eventually, if it's there for long enough, it will mix in the air, and it will fill the whole house.
So if we go back to the cracked heat exchanger,
yep,
should that be like a major concern, or as long as you have a couple of good carbon monoxide detectors, they're under 5 years old, you should be okay? Unless you're 1 in a million, that's just unlucky.
I'm not gonna say it's okay. I gotta stick to it that, you know, a known crack in a heat exchanger. If you walk away from a known crack in a heat exchanger, you're not doing your customer justice.
Not doing them any favors.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. You know, I'm thinking that you might think differently than that.
You know, that was my next question, Peter. My next question was furnace inspections, are they absolutely necessary? Because I know a lot of HVAC companies advertise it as, you know, you have to do them every single year or your whole family's going to die, including the dog. Like, is it really necessary to get a furnace inspection every single year? Like, especially if you have a new furnace. My take on it is, if you have some good carbon monoxide detectors, your furnace is fairly new, and you're handy, right? You can clean the flame sensor, you can replace an igniter. You really don't need a inspection. Maybe like every couple of years.
You know, I would say, you know, 0 to 10 years. Probably not real necessary. You know, if you do it once at 5 years, probably not very necessary. But at 15 years, every other year.
Every other year, okay.
Is what I would recommend.
Another thing I found interesting, Peter, is a lot of people, homeowners in particular, I was reading through like comments on furnace inspections, I looked into it a little bit, and a lot of homeowners were saying that when companies come out to do their furnace inspection, they don't even do the combustion analysis. So like, what are they doing? Yeah, they clean the flame sensor and the burners, but if it's a cracked heat exchanger, they're not even really catching that.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, you gotta, I guess when you get an inspection, make sure that they do the carbon monoxide analysis, right?
Yeah.
The combustion analysis.
Combustion analysis, yeah, right.
If they don't do that, then that's like half of the inspection. That's the most important part.
Yeah. Again, going back to older furnaces, you used to be able to check a heat exchanger with raw gas. You know, but you can't do that anymore because you can't power your gas valve to put gas into the heat exchanger. You used to be able to just, you know, take and, you know, turn the pilot off, turn the gas on for 5 seconds, fill that heat exchanger up, stick your gas analyzer in the plenum, and if you got any gas in there, you know, then you're gonna pick up that cracked heat exchanger.
Yep.
Pretty hard to diagnose a cracked heat exchanger sometimes.
The gas is pretty pungent, right? It doesn't take much for you to be able to pick it up. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, well, Peter, I understand furnace inspection is necessary, especially after 10 years.
Yep.
After 15, you said every other year.
Yeah.
How about air conditioner inspections? Now, these, I do have a pretty strong opinion that if you're handy, you probably don't need air conditioner inspections.
The only thing you need on an air conditioner is to keep the coil clean.
The condenser coil outside.
The condenser coil outside. Yep.
Other than that, really.
Filters, you know, and you know, if your evaporator is getting plugged up, it's going to be a problem. You're going to have a technician out.
And a lot of HVAC companies won't even do that anyway, right?
No, but they should be able to diagnose it.
They should at least be able to tell you that's the problem.
Right.
By doing the static pressure drop?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
but no, as far as putting your gauges on for an inspection, to put your gauges on every air conditioner that you go out for an inspection, I think is not doing the customer just.
On the contrary, you might be causing problems, right?
Yes, you could be introducing moisture. You know, you could create a leak in the valve cores.
Or if somebody's using the same gauges for like 410A and R22.
I hope they're not doing that, but yes.
They could be cross-contaminating too, right? So.
Yes, I hope that the technicians out there today are not doing that. You know, I hope they've got a set for each gas they're using.
Sure.
So.
Okay, so you're saying as far as air conditioner inspections, for most people, probably not necessary.
Correct. Keep things clean.
Just keep things clean. Indoor filter, outdoor coil. I have videos for both if you want them, and everything else will be good.
Yep.
Okay, and one of the viewers asked a question, and I promised him I would ask you. When should HVAC systems be replaced? Because the general consensus out there is 10 to 15 years needs to be replaced. But you know, if it's working good, do you even bother, or do you just let it run and run and run until it dies? Like, when should it be replaced, or there's no such thing?
You know what? I've got I know a lot of you technicians out there don't like the old Lennox pulse furnace.
Oh, that thing's a monster.
You know,
I don't like it either.
I love my pulse furnace. I built my house in 1989. And I've still got the original furnace in there.
You still have it going?
It is.
Wow.
And I have air checked it, and it's still good, and it purrs like a kitten. Everybody says, it's so noisy. No, that's comfort. That's when that furnace kicks on, I know it's working. I can lay in bed at night and listen to that thing hum, and it's perfect. You know?
Purring cat, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, and that is actually all I had, Peter. And if you watched any of my videos, you know that I like to end all my videos with a joke. So Peter, I actually don't have any dad jokes for you. Hopefully you have one, but I'll tell you a story. So a while ago, I went to a house where there was a broken air conditioner, and the guy tells me, hey, the air conditioner hasn't been working for 2 weeks. I'm like, really? It was super hot. Why didn't you call earlier? He says, well, the thing is, my in-laws were in town, and they were planning to stay for a month.
Yeah, all right. I understand now. You know, I actually do have a dad joke for you.
Okay.
You know, you told me I can't be talking dirty or anything like that. So
I said as clean as possible.
Yeah, right. So, you know, I guess what's the difference between roast beef and pea soup?
I don't know.
Anybody can roast beef. You don't get that one. You just don't get that. No, my 4-year-old, he got that one right away. Yeah.
I'll process it. We'll see. Let me know in the comments if you got it or not. I think it'll hit me in a minute. Just give me a minute. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have anything else that you want to say or ask Peter, please let us know in the comment section below.